The other hero of April 19th. Americans know Paul Revere. They know the ride, the warning, the midnight urgency. But there was another man in Boston, quieter in memory, larger in consequence, who helped set that night in motion. He was a doctor, a patriot, and before the revolution had fully found its footing, he had already given it his life. My name is Benedict. No, not that one. Today I will tell you about the other hero of April 19th, Dr. Joseph Warren. In the spring of 1775, Boston was a city under strain. British troops occupied it. Tension thickened in the streets. The language of protest was hardening into something more dangerous. And among the patriot leaders moving quietly through that pressure was Joseph Warren. He was not yet as famous as Samuel Adams, not as theatrically remembered as Paul Revere, not as institutionally immortal as Washington, but he mattered enormously. Warren was a physician by trade, intelligent, respected, trusted. He was also deeply involved in the patriot cause. He wrote, he organized, he spoke with unusual force. Some historians believe he may even have written the Suffolk Resolves, the bold statement that urged resistance to British coercion and pushed Massachusetts closer to open defiance. He was, in short, more than a bystander in history. He was one of the men helping history move. Then came the night of April 18th. British troops were preparing to march from Boston. Their objective was clear enough: seize colonial military stores in Concord and, if possible, capture patriot leaders Samuel Adams and John Hancock. It was Joseph Warren who received the intelligence. Think about that. Before the riders rode, before Lexington Green, before the first confused shot. Warren was the man who understood the danger and acted. He sent Paul Revere. He also sent William Dawes. 2 riders, 2 routes, 1 urgent message. The countryside had to be warned. The leaders had to get clear. The militia had to be ready. The revolution, in one sense, was about to begin, and Joseph Warren helped strike the match. Now, April 19th belongs in American memory for Lexington and Concord, for the first blood, for the militia, for the shot heard round the world. But Joseph Warren's role is easy to miss, because he was not merely attached to that day. He was attached to that moment in a deeper way. He was among the men giving the resistance coherence, not just outrage, coherence. He helped transform scattered resentment into organized alarm. That is a different kind of courage, not the courage of charging, the courage of seeing clearly, deciding quickly, and sending others into danger because the cause required it. And here is the cruel part. Joseph Warren would not live to see independence. Just 2 months later, in June of 1775, he fought at Bunker Hill. By then, he had already been appointed a major general in the Massachusetts militia. But at the battle, he chose to serve as an ordinary volunteer fighter rather than claim command prestige. That tells you something about the man. He did not seem overly concerned with title, only duty. He fought in the redoubt, and there he was killed. He was just 34 years old. 34. Before the Declaration, before Yorktown, before the Constitution, before Washington became the fixed star of the national imagination. Joseph Warren died before the Revolution had become a nation's origin story, which may be one reason the nation forgot him. But the men around him did not forget. Warren's death was felt deeply. He was regarded not as a marginal patriot, but as one of the cause's brightest figures. Had he lived, he might have stood among the foremost leaders of the founding generation. That is not sentimental exaggeration. It is a real historical possibility. Sometimes the shape of memory depends less on greatness than on survival. The men who live longer leave more paper, more office, more speeches, more portraits. The dead must rely on the gratitude of others. And gratitude, I regret to say, is not always a reliable archivist. Revolutions are often remembered by their longest shadows: the presidents, the generals, the names carved deepest into stone. But every founding has men like Joseph Warren, men who help set events in motion, men who see clearly before others do, men who die before history finishes writing their importance. Warren did not live long enough to become a founding father in the polished sense. He died while the outcome was still uncertain, which is, perhaps, one of the purest forms of patriotism. And sometimes the men who matter most are the ones who never lived to hear how right they were.